Good afternoon. Welcome to the September meeting of the City of Glens Falls Planning Board. Our agenda has 5 items on it. Our first item on the agenda is the review and potential approval of the minutes of the August 1st, 2023 Planning Board meeting. I'll start with Mr. Lanfear. Anything from you on those?
Everything seems the way it's supposed to be.
Good with you, Andrews? Ellen?
No comments.
Anything from you, Mr. Lane?
I'm good.
I have a couple of comments that I've already given to Emily, and otherwise I think that we're all set. So I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of the August 1st, 2023 as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Good there. First item under old business is Michael Dinsmore's sign permit that's at 240 Warren Street. Is there anybody here representing this application? So this application has been tabled several times. It was originally submitted to us in June. They were going to provide some additional information. They did not appear at the June meeting. We tabled it to July. They did not appear at the July meeting. We tabled it to August. It is my feeling that this has been tabled now 3 times. I don't see a reason for us to move forward with it. Obviously, they've changed their mind on what it is that they wanted to do. So my tendency on this one, I think, is to just deny the application and make them reapply if they want to do something. Is that correct here?
Yes.
Okay. So then I would make a motion that the Glens Falls City Planning Board hereby denies the application of Michael Dinsmore for 240 Warren Street for the signage that was originally submitted in May of 2023. As no one has been here to represent the application, so we will deny it, and if they want to come back to us, they can reapply. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Next item on our agenda is Corey Heyman, subdivision of land at 38 Foraker Avenue. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Unless you want me to take it back and I give it to you again. How are you this afternoon?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well. A little warm, but not bad. So we were at the last meeting and we were waiting on final survey. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I see that we have final survey from Van Houten and Steves that shows the actual lot line dimensions and lot line layouts. It looks like all of the setbacks are appropriate for the existing house. What else can you tell us? Anything?
That's all.
The only things that we were waiting for. Okay. With that being said, I will ask, is there anyone here who would like to, Mr. Richards would like to, is there anybody who would like to speak on this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, my name is John Richards. I'm an attorney in Glens Falls and here on behalf of George Knapp. And following up on our appearance in in August, I did update and set forth a letter with a couple concerns I wanted to review with the board tonight, if I may. If I can pass these out. There are 2 here.
It's amended. Did not.
Dr. Knapp's in the audience if you would like to speak to him personally, but I really want to just follow up on our appearance and point out 2 things. that I have a concern about, that he has a concern about, and specifically, the first one is on the subdivision plat, the final one that was submitted. If it's there, I didn't see it, that shows the coverage, the maximum coverage on the, I don't know how to call it, maybe the improved lot or the balance of the lot after the subdivision. If it's short of 30%, it's hard to tell. And I don't know how we can proceed with a review of this application until that coverage is shown. I think you can just do an AutoCAD, probably Van Dusen and Steves could knock it off pretty quickly. But to show exactly what we're talking about, because I don't think you can have a subdivision where you create a non-conforming lot that really would require a variance. So my request is if it's on there, let me see where, can I see where it is?
Okay.
I couldn't tell, my copy is pretty small.
I don't see it myself, but in looking at it, I can tell you that, you know, the stone wall that's there, the amount of planters, the shed and the overhang are, I would say, under 30%.
But we're talking about the whole,
Are you
every
talking
paved
about-
And
surface.
I'm talking about lot number 2, which is shown on the subdivision plan.
You know, I'm talking about, well,
We're talking about lot number 1.
I'm talking about the remainder, I'm not talking about the new one.
Of the original?
Yeah, I don't think,
Lot number-
I don't
lot
think you
number
can
one.
create a
Okay.
non-conforming lot, which is what you would do by this subdivision approval as it stands. Unless I'm off, I'm not saying for sure because I don't see it. But that is a concern. I think the board has to consider that before it reviews and makes any final determination of this. And so I would ask that that be shown and that we have a chance to comment on it next month at the meeting. That being said, there are also concerns that are set forth in the letter from Mr. Knapp relative to things that the board can review and approve on and condition on. And I sent Karen a copy of the letter because she had mentioned that there were limits on the discretion of this board as far as what conditions it can impose. And I concur with her, there are limits. And I put them in my letter as the type of limits that we're not trying to exceed, we're not trying to see conceded. But I think the board does have the authority, and there's some case law that I cited to back that up, to address things when you have an unusual situation with respect to the surrounding community. And here you clearly do. You have a lot that's being proposed for construction purposes, one would assume, in the middle of a well-established neighborhood. One that would be one of the smaller lots. And certainly the homes all around are between 50, I think on this south side of Horicon, they're over 50 to 75 years old, maybe 60 years old. On the adjacent areas to the south, on Coolidge, and on the north side of Horicon, they're probably well over 100 years old. So I think you have to take that into consideration and consider the aesthetics as well as the safety when you're adopting or preparing to adopt and approve a subdivision plan. And those things would be building type, building color. Those have all been approved as conditions that are appropriate for planning board to impose as part of a subdivision approval. And I've put them right in this letter as well. So I respectfully ask the board to consider both those points. One, that it's premature to have any kind of decision today without a knowledge and by an engineer or surveyor, excuse me, a presentation by an engineer or surveyor of the coverage in the remaining lot. And second, that when the time comes to review, and if the board chooses to approve the subdivision, that it can, and I submit, should impose certain conditions to make that as compatible as possible with the adjacent homes.
You want to read into the record Mr. Knapp's letter, or you want it just noted on the record that he submitted a letter August 1st and an amended letter September 5th?
That would be sufficient. That's, it highlights, I would just point out, at the end, it highlights the conditions he would like to see should the board reach the point of approving this.
And then your letter you've given to the board dated today's date.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. there anybody else who would like to speak on this application? If you could, state your name for the record and your address.
Kevin Curlehy, and I live at 25 Horcon. And I may not have a complete understanding of the situation, but as I try to put this together, I have a sense that the house was built on a double lot, just like my house was built way back when in the 30s on a double lot. And I think the people had in mind a certain house they wanted to build. And in order to do that, they had to have a certain size lot. And a single lot wouldn't do it, so they ended up purchasing a double lot. Same thing holds true with my lot, and I'm just concerned this might set a precedent, in at least our neighborhood, that there are a number of double lots there, especially on the north side of Horicon. We have a very big, large backyard. Conceivably, somebody could put a driveway along the side of our house and ask for a permit to have a building lot on our double lot. And if indeed the new lot is approved, leaving the existing house oversized for the lot that's there, it seems to me that that goes against the concept and the whole idea of what our neighborhood was meant to be. That if you're going to have a larger house, you need a larger lot. And now you're going to have a large house on a small lot, apparently maybe not conforming. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Anybody else who would like to speak on this application? Do you have anybody online?
So I've grown up in Glens Falls, pretty much.
For the record.
Oh, George Knapp. I live at 33 Horicon Avenue. I grew up in Glens Falls and love the area, and that's why I came back. I've been living at my current house for 30 years now. And, we waited and found the right house at the appropriate time. And we enjoy the neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. We pay a lot of taxes for it. And it's something where I don't want to see it change. It's one of the few remaining areas in Glens Falls that really is a nice, attractive area that people, who want to come here, see that kind of neighborhood, and that they can live here and enjoy it. So it's just something where we've all enjoyed the neighborhood at this point, and to cut up the lot right across the street from me just is going to make it look like one of the smaller, more highly dense areas of the city that takes away a lot from our neighborhood. So I think it's nice to have that some room, the buffer. Even though you can do something, doesn't mean you should. But it's just something I think would detract greatly from our neighborhood, and I think people would consider not moving there when they see that kind of that density, which we've been trying to which we enjoy not having that high dense area. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? Nobody online? Okay. Then I will start with Mr. Lampier. Any additional questions on your end?
It sounds like there's more information that should be applied to this project. Yes, we have the survey, but if there is any shortfalls with the existing lot that the house is on, we should look into that more in depth. And then, have the numbers tell us what's right and what's not.
Anything else?
No.
Ms. Anderson?
No, I just was concerned about receiving information here that we hadn't been able to go over and verify or get questions to. I can't really speak to it today, so. Sorry.
No.
I would just like to know some of the neighbors because, lot sizes, because looking down on this, those houses are close together.
That's correct.
And the
My lot will
lots-
be bigger than most of
The
them.
lot sizes, like specifically this one, looks smaller than what this one would be. Same
That can be flushed out from the tax map.
Yeah, and, you know, I live in that neighborhood as well, and I actually have, my lot size is 0.24 acres, so it's a little bit smaller, and I have a larger lot considering where we are, which is why we bought the house. And like I said, this is a little bit bigger than. So I'm just curious because as far as like setting a precedent, I don't think that we're really setting a precedent if the other lots on that side of Hormone are smaller. Is that fair?
Yeah. It's a fair assessment.
And even like when you look at Coolidge, right? And it is like it's a beautiful neighborhood. I love living there, you know. But we also, I don't think that we'd be setting a precedent if we did the subdivision there. And we did the subdivision over on Webster too, right? So I don't really see a problem with subdividing it. I mean, I do understand the concern with the architecture for sure, because you know that's
Yes.
one of the things that we love about living here is
Right.
the architecture. Like I just went on a huge long drive and still like nothing beats this area of this town. Can I ask like what are your plans for subdividing it? You just want to.
We'd like to build on the other lot. You know, our children, my daughter's already moved out, my son is going to college. And, you know, there's a lot of families in the neighborhood that would like to have a house where they can grow their families. I've actually been approached several times. People saying, we heard your house was for sale, let us know, because our house is too small. I mean, it seems very wasteful for two people to live in a house that large. So it wouldn't be a tiny house by any means, but it would
Can
be,
you speak
oh,
to the
sorry,
microphone?
yeah.
Sorry.
It would
It's
be,
not coming from-
you know, not as large as what we have. We've looked at different styles. California bungalows seem to be a very popular style in the area. I think it's a beautiful style. My husband and I have different properties, and we always have everything taken care of as it should be, which anybody can tell you in our house. We keep the landscaping up, we keep everything painted and nice, and we would not put anything up that was subpar.
So would you build the house yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and then you would sell it or rent it?
No, we want to live there, and then sell the other house.
Sell the original house.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's too much house for us. We don't need
Yeah,
4
so that's-
bedrooms
The
and,
idea is to
3 bathrooms.
subdivide a lot,
Got
build
it,
a new
got it,
house,
got it.
sell the old
Yeah.
house.
yeah, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I don't really see a problem with that either. I mean, like, I feel like we have the information that we need,
Mhm.
and I know I'm just eyeing it, but it definitely, you know, and again, I think my lot is 0.24, so, and it's a good size lot.
It's plenty.
Yeah, like,
It's above what's required.
R1A requires 10,000 square feet. Each lot has an excess of 10,000. Requires 100 feet of width. Both lots have that. Maximum coverage is 30%. So I think Mr. Richards' position is you need to know the dimensions on the existing house, what I'm going to call lot 1, to make sure that you're not
Over 30%
over
coverage.
30%. So your house could be 4,129 square feet. But this map, I don't know that it, can you tell by the map the dimensions of the house? The slate patios would not be counted,
It's the garage.
just the garage and the 2-story wood frame house.
Okay.
Is that a 2-story house?
There's a second floor on the back part where 2 kids' bedrooms were added.
So I think that was Attorney Richardson,
Okay.
his position, that without knowing the dimensions of the house, we can't calculate to make sure that it's less than 30%.
So should I have the surveyor?
Surveyors can put that on.
Okay, okay.
Yep. And I think that's something that's relatively easy for them to, it's a relatively easy calculation for them to put on the drawing.
Okay.
To just show, we just want to make sure that the existing lot, once it's carved out, there's no illegality.
Totally. Yep, I understand that.
Everything we do.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Can I just took my words, yeah, we can't do this without knowing those numbers, that's the, big part of it. That we found out here, that's, the real, so, we can't create a hardship on that by granting the other one. More than likely, it looks like it's been okay anyway, so we need to know those numbers. I think your neighbor's concerns with what you're gonna build, if you had some sort of drawing or you set up to do this, would probably alleviate all this. Can't tell you to do that.
I don't have plans yet, but I know, I have an
And
idea.
That's not what's in front of
That's not
us.
what's in front of us, it's a
Right.
subdivision. And
Right.
then if there's going to be a plan in the future, that would be a building permit through building and code department. And this board traditionally doesn't see residential building.
Right.
So you would get your building permit if there were any issues regarding lot lines, or then you may have to go before
For
ZBA
the zone,
for
Yeah.
zoning, but
as
not.
long as you conform to the requirements of the zoning.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't be-
But I'm just saying that just,
Yes.
that dealt with not here, would make us, what we're gonna have to take care of, so we don't deal with that.
So I just need.
Until we get that data.
Anything else? Mr. Landry, anything?
I think basically the same thing. I think once we have the information about the conformance of lot one,
Okay.
it's gonna help the decision on lot two.
That it? Yep. So I tend to agree, again, in looking at the lot, and having done a number of these myself, I think for Van Dusen and Steves to tell us what the lot coverage of this house is versus what the square footage of the lot is a relatively straightforward
Yes, I
calculation.
totally understand. It didn't occur to me because I see much bigger houses on smaller lots, so I didn't really think it would be an issue, but I have no issue with doing that.
And I think that that's something that's fairly straightforward.
Yep.
I think that the rest of us have, in looking at it strictly as subdivision, I think we're on board with it. I think that looking at the tax maps and comparing other parcels down that street is something that's a relatively easy thing to show.
Yes.
And can be quite easily done off in the tax maps to show what those adjoining properties are, both on Oregon and on Coolidge. Otherwise, I think I'm, in agreement with the subdivision. I think if we can get those couple of conditions taken care of, we can look at it. So I would like to table it for tonight.
Okay.
And you provide that information to us for the next meeting.
Okay.
And I think the next meeting we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay. I will make a motion to,
I'm sorry, Billy. My name's
please approach. For the record, state your name and your
My
address.
name's Patrick Bergman. I live at 49 Coolidge Avenue, adjoining property there. I just got out of work and I was unable to attend the meeting, but I just wanted to address some of my concerns for the setback for the house and I've just seen rough drawings for setback for the house and then the property's the size of it for the neighborhood. That's all I was concerned
Yeah,
about. And have those issues been addressed? I apologize.
Yeah, for the existing lot or
For the existing lot and for the new one as well. Okay.
So the proposed lot meets all the zoning requirements. What we're asking Corey to provide to us is the lot coverage and the setbacks for the existing house on the existing lot.
And the existing lot has the required setbacks?
That's what we're asking
Okay.
him to provide.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Sir?
Just to clarify something, and Karen can correct me. The lot coverage definition.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. The lot coverage definition in the ordinance says that portion of lot covered by buildings, structures, pavement, and all man-made improvements. So I do think it is broader than the footprint of the house. That's all I'm going to stress.
Well, the slate patio is permeable, so the building and codes department does not count.
I'm just pointing out.
Yep. And
More
looking
than
at
the
the
house.
map, the setbacks are provided for in this drawing for the rear and side. It looks like we just need the front yard.
Let's see.
And they even the driveway on the alley side is actually
Yeah.
big tiles, it's not
Yep.
paved, it has, it can, water
I
can
think
go through.
I think the coverage would include the alley portion that's on the lot. Thank you.
So I think if you can get back to, if Matt has any questions,
Okay.
I'm sure he's done these before, so I'm sure it's something that he can put together for you. Show where the existing setbacks are, and you can do it that way.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
You made a motion to table.
I am making a motion to table the application for Hyman, 38 Horicon Avenue as presented at the meeting of 5 September 2023. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? We table the next one? Our next motion, or our next piece of business is under new business, which is subdivision of land 23-0002 pursuant to the city code section 220-11. Scott Richards, the owner of tax map number 303.18-4-19.4, commonly known as 47 Peck Avenue, seeking review and approval of subdivision for his lot. Is there anyone here representing this application? Please. For the record, can you just state your name?
Sure, I'm Jim Plouffe. I live at 49 Peck Avenue.
Okay. And you're here representing Scott this evening?
Well, we're dividing that lot between us, and
Yep. So if you can just kind of, for our application, go through, was this before us before?
no,
It was not. Okay.
not while I've lived there.
Okay. I remember Scott had been here for something else prior to, but I wasn't sure if it was this or not.
Yep.
So if you can just give us a brief rundown of
Absolutely.
what they're talking about doing?
Basically, me and my wife bought 49 Peck Avenue. The piece of property between me and Scott was owned by that person, but we did not purchase it at the time that we bought our house. Subsequently, we went back, me and Scott came to an agreement, we were going to buy the lot between us, subdivide it, and then have it taxed appropriately to our existing properties.
So basically then this is a boundary line adjustment, taking the 3 lots and making it into 2 lots?
Yes.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this application? Peter, do we have anybody online? And we'll start with Mr. Landry.
I don't see why, I mean, if it's 125 feet on the street, and if you're just, so you're gonna add 62 and a half feet to each property,
Exactly.
I don't see any problem with that.
Mr. Belden?
Doesn't seem like we have any setback issues or anything like that, you're not gonna build anything on it, just wanna, this picture, because I
Yep.
don't see any issue.
Just want to keep someone from building between us.
There you go. Karen, anything?
No.
Ms. Andrews?
No questions?
Anything from you? So, I mean, this one I think is pretty straightforward. It's 3 lots becoming 2 lots.
Okay.
I can understand the reasoning for wanting to do it, and I don't really see any real issues with it. Again, I think all of the setbacks are on there. These were all 3 equal approved lots to begin with, so I think the combination of this is something that's fairly straightforward. So I would be in favor of it myself. That being said, do we need a seeker?
With respect to seeker, I would classify this as type 2. It's a lot line adjustment for single-family residence, therefore no further action is required.
And from our architectural consultant, he reviewed this and had no concerns himself. So with that being said, I would make a motion that the Glens Falls City Planning Board hereby approves the subdivision of Scott Richards, 45 to 47 Peck Avenue, for subdivision as presented at the meeting of 5 September 2023 with no conditions. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All set.
Thank you all,
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much. Next item on our agenda is site plan review 230014 pursuant to the city code section 220-26D, subsection 6, Jonathan Lapper Esquire, representing the owner of tax map number 302.20-23-4, commonly known as 333 Glen Street, seeking site plan review and approval for alternate parking standards based on the existing site layout. For the record.
For the record, John Lapper, good evening, everyone. And Kevin Lynn, the property manager who runs the whole building, is with me as well, in case there's any questions. We think this is pretty straightforward. That section that Ethan quoted gives you the right to provide alternative standards where appropriate. And in this case, when you do the math at 1 space per employee plus 300 square feet, it comes out to over 1,000, which has never been there, never been needed. And the world is a little bit different in terms of people commuting. And what we've shown in the application is that what we're asking for at the 577 is way more than full occupancy. And then on top of that, there's the garage, which has been built, and Kevin provided pictures of 10 o'clock during the day on a work day where it's pretty empty, and so are the lots. So this gives them the ability to sell the remote lots that, for development, and to go back on, well, not that they're not on the tax roll, but to be on the tax roll with some buildings on them, which would be good for the city since they're not being used for parking. So in this case, we think it's just not necessary to meet the current standards for that building.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this application? Anybody online? So I will start with Mr. Lanfear.
Yeah, I agree with John, especially with the change of, how people do business and where they do business and all that type of environment has changed. I think the numbers seem to work with the guidelines in our ordinances. I don't see any problem at all.
Ms. Andrews?
My only concern is that as the population may change in the building, we don't know what their future needs would be.
So we calculated that at full occupancy, it would be at 476, and we're asking for 565. So, so we're providing almost 100 spaces more than we think we'd ever need in that building, which is some leeway.
Because I know that when it was full, they had many parking lots all over the city.
Those were little tiny cubicles. It was just different than how it's being rented and being used now, and a lot of people are remote. On top of that, if necessary, the parking garage can be expanded. So there's plenty of room on site to build more parking if they needed it, rather than to use those remote lots.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No questions or comments?
I would say that Dan Brown did give us a comment on it. Are all existing uses and occupancies in the building office uses? Rather than establishing an alternate to this code requirement, can the board instead approve a variance to the code required parking capacity? Said variance applicable only to the current owner of the existing status of occupancies and on-site employees. And inevitable future change in occupancy and/or on-site employees should invite the board to review the parking needs at that time as applicable to those changes. And I think that what John has indicated to us, and it's my understanding as well, that the existing parking garage that's there has the ability to handle 2 more floors. At how many parking spaces per floor?
175 per floor?
175.
Additional with the 2 floors, 175.
Right, that's what I thought. So, on top of what is being provided, there's the capacity to do an additional 175 spaces. So, my feeling is it's completely appropriate.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell?
I don't see any issues with it. There's a plan for the future. If it does change, that it can be enacted, so I don't have an issue.
Mr. Lane?
Well, once I heard 2 floors could be added, that's your redundancy right there. So I have no problem.
All right. That being said, there's no seeker involved in this, correct? Because this is just a...
I would classify it as a type 2 action. No further action is required.
As far as an approval on our part, we're just approving the alternate parking standard.
Pursuant to 220-2066.
Yep. So then I would make a motion that Glens Falls Planning Board hereby approves the alternate parking standard for
565.
333 Glen Street Associates, as presented at the meeting of 5 September 2023, subject to no conditions. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I'm reading through it. I read it 3 times. I'm going to go through it. I don't know if you got a copy of it. But trying to put that into my notes. And my notes is going to be. We do have, at the beginning of the meeting, I handed out to you an encroachment permit for a curb cut. This was submitted to the clerk's office, but did not get to the building department in time to be noticed. It did, but it didn't. It got over to the building department, but it did. Anyway, it did get noticed. But this is strictly an advisory opinion to the Common Council. So I've talked with our council, and we can go ahead and review this and make our advisory opinion, because the actual encroachment permit curb cut will be noticed by the Common Council at the next meeting.
Approved by Common Council, not this board.
So it's just an advisory opinion. So it's our feeling that we can proceed with this. Is everybody comfortable with that? Yes. So our next item on our agenda is an encroachment permit for Gabriel Matthias. Is that correct? Owner of tax map number 309.27-6-23, commonly known as 20 Crandall Street, is seeking an encroachment permit for a curb cut at this location. The planning board is to review and issue an advisory opinion to the Glens Falls City Common Council prior to the council's review and approval. If you'd like to come up and tell us a story.
Yes, sure. So my name's Gabriel Matias, and the property was just recently rehabbed. It's a 2-unit house, and there's only one garage, and for the upstairs unit, I wanted to get a second driveway inside on the other side of the property. So they have a driveway, which is long overdue. And I got all the measurements and everything, how the driveway would be done. And there's plenty of space for almost 2 cars to park there as well.
Okay. So basically, this is the building. So Crandall is, you're kind of almost right at the
It's
intersection.
literally the corner,
correct?
yeah, that intersection.
Okay. I did drive by and take a look at it. I had the benefit of having this earlier in the week. So I did drive by and look at it.
It's a heavy traffic, yeah.
None of the rest of our board members have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the information you submitted, there is a drawing in your package. that
Yes.
shows 12 feet, and that's the intention, is you're
Yes,
planning a
correct.
12-foot wide drive curb cut at
Yes.
that location.
Yes,
to come
sir.
Straight in. And that's going to be a drop curb,
Yeah.
so it'll be flush with the street?
Yes, and then I even had the inches of the slope. I think it was 19 inches or something like that. Yeah.
So the sidewalk will come along, drop
Yes,
down.
correct.
And that'll be the tip
Correct.
apron, and then it'll go back
Yes,
up on the other
yes,
side.
yes. Because I'm doing it the same way they just did it in my property where I currently live in 15 New Street.
Okay.
So it's almost like the same strategy.
Okay. All right. And then it'll be tapered on the opposite side.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to your application here?
No.
What's the material that you're going to use? Is it going to be a paved driveway, or is it crushed stone, or?
Right now, it's just crushed stone for now.
Okay.
And then maybe next year I could do a driveway for an actual tar
Do
asphalt.
actual pavement?
Yeah, but for now I just got the gravel. Yeah.
All right. I will start with Mr. Lynn.
So are you getting the curb cut, you're gonna do the concrete right away?
Yes, immediately.
And then gravel or stone, going up into the property, is that?
That's already done, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's trying to be a one-day project. Demolishing the small part of that sidewalk and then the ramp the same day.
Okay, now do you plan on leaving like a small reveal at the actual curb line?
Yes, yes.
The street itself?
Yes.
Just because most all the streets are
Yes.
Mhm.
So we just don't want to.
Of course.
To a point you want to leave a little.
No.
inch and a half.
Yeah, just almost like halfway of the sidewalk where you can still walk. We just made it perfect where any car, even if it's like a sports car or anything, you can still just slide right up.
All right.
But there's almost half the sidewalk where you can still
Just
walk.
so that the water can continue on.
Yes.
No
Yes.
impact.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Ms. Andrews?
No questions.
You? Ms. Cody?
So, how, like, we don't have lot lines?
That's it.
So, like, I don't know where the boundaries are for your property and your neighbor's property.
Yes.
And I mean,
I do have the dimensions somewhere, but there's space, there's definitely space
I know, but
between.
we don't have the lines, the actual lines for the property, and we have to, how much is it? Is it what is the width between the houses?
Well, the distance between the houses is existing. There's nothing changing there.
No, I mean, like, if we
From the
put it in
driveway?
from the driveway to the house, what is, I can't remember.
Well, there's no setback dimension required between the house and the driveway. There is a setback required between the driveway and the property.
Right,
And
that's,
it's,
yeah.
I mean, well, I don't know, in the zoning code, it doesn't say there's a setback required for that. What it says is, that you have to leave buffer between,
Yes.
like, you can't pave right to your property.
Yes, yeah,
That's
that,
what
yeah,
they say.
no, there's definitely a couple feet
Yeah.
from their
So what
property.
and we've established this before, we've set precedent that for us to make this recommendation, we'd like to see where the property line, because you're kind
Yes,
of a
yeah.
pie-shaped piece.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
property
exactly,
right there.
exactly.
And your neighbor's property comes in at an angle.
Yes,
So what we're kind of asking is where in relationship to your proposed parking is that property line?
Yeah.
Just so that what we're not recommending to the common council is, it's okay for you to make the curb cut in the parking space.
Yes.
The parking space winds up on your neighbor's
no,
property.
yeah,
Okay?
that,
So I think that's kind of what Ms.
yes.
Culligan's alluding to.
So
Yeah.
that's, one of the, and then what about percentage, how much, so it's hard to tell on Google Maps, but how much property is in the back?
In the back, there's not a lot of space. It's a small backyard. But it doesn't affect the backyard. It's
No,
just
I
only
know,
the
I'm just
side.
thinking of like percentage.
Lot coverage?
Oh,
Yeah, lot
rough guess, maybe 20%. It's really small. That side is most of the lot of the out is on that side.
Was it previously a single family home?
Possibly, yes. Not when I owned it, no. When I purchased it, it was always 2 units.
Oh, it was already two
Yes,
units?
so this is long overdue.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell from
It is, yeah,
Google
from
Earth, but
Google.
you're not looking straight down at it.
No, because the tree is there.
Right.
But my biggest concern is the property lines. Because I don't, we can't make assumptions about where the property
About where the
lines are.
property line is.
Yeah, because they have a sidewalk right next to their property, and that's pretty much the property line itself. And I made sure I wasn't close to their
Well, we
sidewalk.
just need a property line, like we need,
Pin,
A drawing that shows
Yeah.
how many feet between your house and the
Yeah.
property line and where you want to put your driveway.
Yes.
It's just a little sketch.
Yes, that's
Right.
fine.
That-
just showing, we just
sketch.
need something that shows where the property pins are. Do you have a copy of a property survey?
But I thought I put the dimensions on the
We
sheet.
have some dimensions, but that's just dimensions of the parking
That's-
space that's-
yes.
yeah, that you're looking for.
we need the
Not,
actual property line.
Yes.
And then from there.
Okay.
So you want to, Chairman, so are we looking for them to do some survey?
we just have to have the corners located. We've made that a requirement before. We did it on Beacon Street, we did it on Grand Avenue, we've done it several times, just to show that you are building on your property.
Yes,
So
yes.
that you can understand what the obligation is.
Yes.
So your property deed when you bought the property, it came with a description of deed.
Yes.
That actually tells you the meets and bounds of the
Yes,
property.
yes.
Now, what a surveyor can do, a surveyor can come out and locate those corners for you.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
And then from there, now you know where the pins are, and you can actually show on a drawing, okay, here's the pins,
Yes.
here's where my house is, here's how
Yes.
far it is to the pins.
Yes.
And then you can show on that drawing.
Okay.
Here
Yeah,
it
And
is.
how far the neighbor's house is from that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. See, what he's got shown here is, this is where his tape measure is laid out, and where he wants to, yes, that's a parking sign. That's it, Mr. Bell?
Yeah, I think we just requested we've sat and we need to see if anything. We might try to see the assessor's office and they can overview the lot lines on a picture.
Okay.
If they have the ability to do that, and then go out and check those and give us dimensions on that.
Yeah.
On that, they can print them out for you.
Okay.
And then we're gonna need hard numbers on there from that corner marker, which should be there.
Okay.
Before we can approve it.
Okay.
The city's assessor's office, she's a really nice lady.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you might actually be able to find the corner pins.
Yeah.
They're little round.
Yeah, I've seen
stick-
them sometimes. Yeah.
Driven into the ground.
Yes.
Pieces of rebar.
Unfortunately, it's not there, but I'll figure it out through the assessor. Okay.
Yeah, if you get, they'll tell you the dimensions from the neighbors too, you can measure over, you should be able to find it.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Okay.
Mr. Lander?
Basically the same thing, I'd like to see just some kind of rough drawing to scale,
Yes.
'cause I mean, without seeing the property, it doesn't look like there's a lot of room there.
Yes.
Just to make sure that you're not going through all this and you can't fit two cars.
Yeah.
Because, you can't have your cars parking on next to the neighbor's house. So once we have that in mind,
Yes.
then like I say, just some kind of scale drawing that shows, what you want to do.
Mhm. Understood. Okay.
The other thing are you all set?
Yes.
So the other thing that I noticed on here, you're saying that the total length from the sidewalk to the end of where you're parking is only going to be 15 feet 2 inches?
Yes.
Okay, so the only thing that we have to make sure of is that your parking space is large enough that when a car is parked there, it's not sticking out onto the sidewalk.
Yes, but yes, and it's a no parking street, so there's.
No, I understand that, but your car, when it's parked in the driveway, can't hang out onto the sidewalk.
Oh yeah,
They'll
no,
get-
no,
they'll get
exactly.
ticketed for that.
Yeah.
And if we approve something that's not deep enough, we
Yes.
put that up. So I think as Mr. Landry and Ms. Cully were saying, if we can see in a plan view, here's your house, here's your neighbor's house, here's how much space you have to put things on there. The only other thing that I would ask is, what's the plan for like snow removal?
Snow removal.
Not that we get into snow anymore.
Usually just the tenants handle the snow removal.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just
that,
comes off the.
we would like to see something that shows where it's gonna get piled, because
Yes.
what we don't wanna have happen is you put the driveway in and have somebody come in and plow snow up against your neighbor's
No, yeah, exactly.
house.
Yes.
That'll be
Yeah.
that'll be the first thing that comes back to us.
Yes, and
Right.
that. Yep.
I
And
think
that
another
was.
concern is too, you got two roofs that pitch down into that area. Because I had a situation with my daughter where she
Yes.
rents, that the snow comes down on top of the cars.
Yes.
Does the snow unload off from that roof?
Yes, because it's a
Yeah.
metal roof.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so they
So
definitely
that's
cannot park next, too
Something
close to the house.
Something to keep in mind.
Yes, definitely cannot park next to the house like that.
Okay.
Yes.
So you got the
Alright.
information that you
Yes,
need.
yes.
The only other thing, and it doesn't, I don't think it really applies here because there is no space between the sidewalk and the street. There's no green space. Your sidewalk, the edge of your sidewalk is the road.
Yes.
So that has to be replaced with concrete.
Okay, yes.
The
yes,
sidewalk obviously has
Yes.
to be concrete. Typically, we say that the apron needs to be concrete as well, but here there is no apron.
Yes.
So for you, it's just gonna be the sidewalk.
Okay.
Okay? So if you can get us that information and supply it to the building department,
Okay.
the same way that your other application?
Yes.
Oh, it came to you?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you can put that information together
All
and
right.
bring it back to
Yep.
the clerk's office.
So pretty much
make
just
sure
get
it
the
gets to us.
technical numbers of like how everything
Yep.
properties.
something to scale that we can
Got it.
lay out.
Got it.
That'll give our members some time to come over and take a look at it. I understand, I've driven by it, and I know
Yes.
it's very tight, so I understand.
Yes,
what we're trying to do.
yeah. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely.
you, guys.
I would make a motion
Take care.
that we table the application of
Have a good
Gabriel Mateus, pending some additional information to be provided for the October meeting. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? What's that?
Okay.
Great, we'll see you again in October.
All right, October 5th, right?
I'm not sure what the date is. Hang on just a second, I can tell you. I think it's the 3rd.
It'll still be a
It
Tuesday.
should be the 3rd, I believe.
Okay.
October 3rd.
Okay, thank you so much.
And so the information, I would say, probably needs to get back to the clerk's office by the 20th of September.
Get it done by the next week or two.
Okay, great. Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything else for the common good of the board? Anything that we need to discuss?
I really appreciate hearing from Dan.
You're going to introduce our new member?
I am going to introduce our new member. So Tom Landry is a new member of the board. We're finally a 6-person board when we're all here, or 7-person board when we're all here. Tom's lived in the city pretty much all your life?
Whole life.
And so, live over in the 3rd ward on Coolidge?
Yep. Right there, almost on the corner of Coolidge and Kensington. And just a quick background, my life started out with contract office furniture, so it was all design, layout, ADA compliance and things like that. I moved into building materials. I was a manufacturer's rep for Firestone commercial roofing. Spent 6 or 7 years in renewable energy, solar electric, solar hot water, hybrid heating systems, small wind turbines. I then went into the HVAC field as a manufacturer's rep, and I am currently in the commercial lighting and electrical business as a manufacturer's rep. So my whole life has been building construction, and it's my passion, and I'm the guy that I drive by a construction site, I stop. So, I mean, it's been, so like I say, I'm very anxious. I think I can bring some, some insight and some experience to the board.
Appreciate you being here. We appreciate having a full board again. If there's anything else, otherwise, I'll make a motion that we adjourn for the September meeting.
Second, October.
September.
Oh, you're adjourning, I thought you said adjourning for the September meeting.
September meeting. Anyone?